In a country with 24-hour drive-thrus, Grubhub, DoorDash, Walmart, and snacks in every aisle of every store, what does it look like to be hungry on purpose? This is The Other Cheek. Okay, confession. I've been studying fasting a lot lately because I realized I didn't know much about it. I've fasted a few times here and there, yes, but I never actually sat down with my Bible and looked to see what scripture said about it. So I started in the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew chapter 6. Jesus is teaching on three spiritual practices: giving, praying, and fasting. And on all three, he uses the same word: when, not if. He doesn't say if you give to the needy, he says when. He doesn't say if you pray, he says when. And then when you fast. Same word, same construction. He didn't say if on any of them. But here's where it gets interesting. Mark chapter 2. The religious leaders basically come up to Jesus and ask him, hey, John's disciples fasted, the Pharisees fast. Why don't your disciples fast? And Jesus gives this wild answer. He says, can the wedding guests fast while the bridegroom is with them? As long as they have the bridegroom with them, they cannot fast. But the days will come when the bridegroom is taken from them, and then they will fast. Did you catch what he just did? He didn't abolish fasting. He didn't say we don't do that anymore. He pointed it at himself. While I'm here, you feast. And when I'm gone, you fast. We're in that win right now. And once I saw that, I went back and looked at every example of fasting in the Bible. And what I saw was a pretty consistent pattern. Moses fasted for 40 days before receiving the law on Sinai. Elijah fasted for 40 days, traveling to meet God at Horeb. David fasted while his child was dying. Esther called a 3-day fast before walking into the king's throne room with her people's lives on the line. Daniel, vegetables and water for 21 days, seeking revelation. Anna the prophetess fasted in the temple, constantly waiting on the Messiah. And Jesus himself, 40 days in the wilderness before his ministry ever began. And the early church fasted before sending out Paul and Barnabas. Big moments, hard decisions, encounters with God, and preparation for a ministry. It's never casual, it's never cosmetic, and it's always tied to seeking God for something. But before anybody runs off and starts skipping meals trying to twist God's arm, remember Isaiah 58. Israel is fasting, and they're complaining that God is not paying attention. And God answers them through Isaiah and says, is this not the fast that I chose? To loose the bonds of the wickedness, to undo the straps of the yoke, to let the oppressed go free, and to share your bread with the hungry. The fast that God wanted wasn't just about skipping meals. It was justice. It was generosity. The skipping of the meals was supposed to lead to the change of the heart. And if it didn't, the fast was empty. Fasting isn't a vending machine. It's not about earning God's attention. It's about removing the noise so that you can hear him and then being obedient to what he says. Now, different traditions have done different things with this. Catholic and Orthodox kept structured fasting alive. Lent, Wednesdays, and Fridays. That Wednesday-Friday pattern actually goes back to a first century practice called Didache, which means it's old enough that some of the apostles may have even been alive when it was written. Protestants stripped away the mandatory schedules after the Reformation. Fasting became more personal, more crisis-driven, and charismatic streams across the globe emphasize fasting for spiritual breakthrough. And none of these are wrong. They're just different answers to the same question. How do we do what Jesus described? Not if, but when. Okay, so here's where I land. Jesus said when you fast, not if. He modeled fasting himself. And in Mark chapter 2, he tied fasting back to himself. When the bridegroom is taken away. And I think a lot of us in America have kind of just quietly dropped this. We're the wealthiest and most fed generation of Christians in history. We've never actually really been hungry. Not most of us. And maybe that's why fasting feels so foreign. Because we don't need anything. We have everything. We can just buy our way out of discomfort. But Jesus said the bridegroom would be taken away. And we'd fast in that day. What if the thing he kept pointing us to is the thing that we forgot we needed? I'm just pulling the thread here. I don't have this figured out, so I'm asking with you. Have you fasted? And what did you learn? Drop it in the comments. I really want to hear it. And if this is your first time at the table, subscribe. Saved you a seat. This is The Other Cheek.